live. Let's pretend that we are live already. Okay, I'm just going to hop on our YouTube channel to make sure that we are live. I think we are, but who knows? Yes, apparently we are live. One day we'll get the hang of this.
I'm still showing attendee 0, yeah.
Oh, so it's Ram, for us, for you and me, it's always going to show no attendees because we're the ones in Zoom. People on YouTube are on YouTube.
Okay, but last time I thought it showed some numbers.
Oh no,
okay.
Different thing. We're live right now. Don't worry.
Okay.
We are on YouTube. So yeah, let's give it like one more minute because we are technically scheduled to be here, well, now. So let's give everyone a couple minutes to get here. And we can get started.
You want to check with everybody who's there?
Yeah, I'll check in. So you can, yeah, if you want to start the session, Ram, is there any introduction today or are we jumping straight into the meditation?
No, there'll be an introduction and then
Okay.
there'll be meditation, yeah.
Okay, great. In that case, do you want to get us started?
Shall we? Okay. Okay. In the last session, we talked about a few things on what meditation means, where does the word come from, and primarily that the meditation process is the fastest way to move from an individual to the collective consciousness. Especially in times like this when we are facing crisis across the globe, this is probably one of the key factors that is going to make a difference between life and death, as it were, and also of a long-term survival. When people move out of their self-centric, egocentric attitude to a much more holistic, ecocentric, we-centric behavior and attitude. And meditation is designed in its very process to be able to achieve this, going to a state of awareness which is far above the state of awareness that we are in when we are just mindful of ourselves, when we are egocentric. We also talked about the process of yoga, which has 2 elements to it. Out of the 8 limbs of yoga, the first one is the external yoga, which consists of 4 parts, and then the internal yoga, which consists of 3 parts, which are referred to as samyama. Essentially, a combination of controlling of the senses, controlling of thoughts, and finally disengaging from thoughts and senses. These are called the dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Just to give you an idea, in future, what we are going to cover are how this whole process of meditation will be applied to chakras, the energy centers, and also the significance of sound and intonation in meditation, especially with the use of the word, what is called popularly the mantra, the Om, and also into other aspects such as the role of the heart versus the brain in the meditative process. Today, to start with, as an introduction, I would like to go briefly for the next about 10 to 15 minutes before we start the meditation on what the Vedic psychology, which operated about maybe 4,000 plus years ago, the way that it viewed the mind as different from what we call the brain today. In the Vedic psychology, which is today clearly understood by our neurosciences and other scientific advances, that the brain is just one part of a larger mind. Simply put, a person like me, or probably someone slightly bigger, would have about 100 trillion cells in the body. Each of these cells contains an intelligence. It has a nucleus. It has got what is called the mitochondria. It is capable of thinking on its own, and that is how the principle of the stem cells operates. As compared to this 100 trillion, which could maybe in a smaller person may go down to about 50, the brain occupies just about 100 billion cells, roughly about 0.1%. It's a small fraction of the total intelligence system of our body mind, and yet, despite the fact that it has only 2% of the mass of the total body, it consumes 20% of the energy that the total body mind consumes. So it's a very powerful, energy-intensive operating system, just like the operating system of a computer, even though it has 0.1% of the total number of cells and only 2% of the mass. It plays an enormous role in the way that we think, feel, and operate. Through its connection with the rest of the body, through the nerves, as well as the neurochemicals that are generated in the brain, it's able to do many things, controlling the various lymph glands which produce the hormones, and through those neurochemicals and other hormone chemicals, control pretty much our behavior in many ways. Simply put, for instance, hormones which are produced in the adrenaline, such as adrenaline and cortisol, lead to what is called a flight-fight reaction. Stresses are, they are stressors, they are part of the sympathetic nervous system, whereas other hormones which are created perhaps from thymus and other places like oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, and so on, are much more beneficial to us. They are part of the parasympathetic system, which allows us to recuperate, relax, and refresh. So the brain, and in consequence, the mind, has the ability to completely control the way that we behave. And the whole purpose of meditation and yoga is about how do we bring it within our control? How do we operate the mind in such a way that it is we who are the masters and not the mind? I think I mentioned it last time. Vivekananda said once that the mind is like a monkey which is already drunk and has been bitten by a scorpion. It is jumping from place to place. That's exactly what the average brain, average mind works. And the function of yoga and similar practices is to bring the mind to a state of control or stillness, where it listens to what the largest system, the master system of the human being's larger intelligence says. Now let's look at a little bit about the way that the Western psychology and neurosciences have looked at the brain in the past, and even now to some extent, many of them do. One of the oldest ways of describing the brain's functions was through the MacLean's Triune brain theory, where it still followed, perhaps with some corrections. The brain was divided into three parts. The oldest and the primitive part of the brain, which is at the back of our head, on top of the brain stem of the spine, the cerebellum area, is called the reptilian brain, which stores the past instinctive memories, and it also triggers a flight-fight kind of response in us. The second part of the brain, which evolved from the reptilian fish and those kind of organisms into the birds and the mammals, essentially was the emotional or the limbic brain. And here the difference was that there was a lot more of a nurturing feeling, an emotional caretaking feeling that arose in the creatures which possess this brain. The simple way of differentiation is a reptile or even a fish would probably swallow the young, whereas the eggs are in some other forms. Whereas a mammal would rarely ever, unless tremendously badly stressed, would ever do that. And the last part of the brain that was to develop, primarily in the primates, like chimpanzees or orangutans and so on, as well as the human species, starting from the Neanderthals to Homo sapiens, who we are today, the evolved species, is called the frontal cortex or the neocortex and so on, which is today perhaps the largest part of the human brain, having evolved much bigger and much more powerful than the other parts through other parts of the brain. By and large, even today, the MacLean's triune brain theory stands, but with some corrections. For instance, there is no clear-cut beginning and end to the emotional part of the brain, be it in the limbic brain or be it in the neocortex. It cuts across both. So there are other differences within that. And the triune theory does not fully explain where the sensory perceptors are built into the brain and so on. But if you go 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, in the Vedic psychology, the mind was described in a much more powerful, much more granular, much more functional way than was known even 50, 60 years ago, which we are gradually realizing today. And this knowledge is very easily available to anyone who wants to look at it. The totality of the mind was called the manas. Now, manas has multiple meaning depending upon the references that we use. Manas also, in some cases, refers to the brain. Some cases, it refers to the heart. And within the mind itself, when we talk about the manas, within the mind, which itself sometimes may be called the manas, it refers to the sensory systems, which are, according to this Vedic psychology system, is a starting point of everything. It talks about the sensory system, which is about the five senses, the visual, auditory, the touch, the taste, and the smell, which are located in different parts of the brain. And it clearly was aware that there was a separate organism, a separate part of the brain, separate part of the mind, which was controlling these, which is very different from what was known even about maybe 100 years ago in the Western neurological and medical system. And this was placed first with a clear understanding that this is where it all started. These sensory receptors in different parts of the body, like the visual system is right at the back of the skull, others in different parts embedded within the brain. They actually are constantly roaming, seeking inputs from the environment. They bring in what various scriptures call the food into the mind, and which is why in yoga, the fifth limb is called the pratyahara. Ahara means food. Food, pratya means preventing the food from reaching the mind, starving it of these sensory perceptions, sensory perceptors, sensory receptors. The second part of the brain, this manas, this sensory parts, as I mentioned, lie in different parts of the brain, some at the back, some in other parts of the brain. It is then followed by what is called the chitti, which refers to memory. The sensory inputs are about everything that happens around us. They are in billions bits and bytes. I don't know how many billions, I've forgotten now. Maybe 100 billion, maybe 200 billion, maybe more. And all of these cannot be accommodated within us. So all of this are sensed, but they are not necessarily recorded. There's some part of it which is recorded, some part of it in the unconscious mind, some part of it in the conscious mind, part of it in the flash memory of the conscious mind, and so on. This is called chitti, the memory, and it corresponds to what we today call in the brain system as the hippocampus. It is part of the limbic brain in the triune theory system. And the third is a part of the brain which then looks at this memory storage and interprets it based on our past conditioned experiences, which forms our personality or identity or conditioned behavioral pattern, beliefs, values, whatever you might want to call it, all that put together, that entity. In the Vedic psychology, this was called as ahankara or ego, which has finer definitions of two other parts called ahankara and mamakara. I won't go into that now. But essentially, ahankara was that part of the brain, which is the ego part of the brain, which Freud and Jung talked about several millennia later, about 100 odd years ago, as to the personality which controls the way we behave. The ahankara is the interpreter, the decider. And then finally, buddhi, which is the higher intelligence of the mind, which resides in the frontal cortex, in different parts of the neocortex, which actually is the final arbiter in terms of how things can happen. But sometimes things can go awry. If it's a highly emotional sensory input that is coming in, which could be one of a shock, one of deep fear, one of deep anger, whatever it may be, that emotion, what happens is a part of the memory part, the hippocampus, and a part of the ahankara, which resides in the hypothalamus part of the brain. There's a part called the amygdala, which expands, which effectively blocks the pathway between, the neural pathway between that's emotional kind of brain, which the ahankara part of the brain, the limbic brain, from the cognitive brain, and it sends off directions directly to the body-mind system, activating what is called the pituitary gland, which in turn activates other hormones in the body, sending out adrenaline and so on to a fight and flight reaction. So there are situations, as is often said proverbially, you see red when you're angry, and you are like the deer caught in the headlights of a car when you are in deep fear. And these things actually happen because at those points of deep emotion, our emotional part, the primitive instinctive part of the brain, takes over the system, bypassing the intelligent part of the system. And we start reacting from a flight and fight reaction instead of responding in any other appropriate way. So meditation and practices associated with meditation actually allow us to be able to control these lapses in behavior, as it were, and always keep the higher intelligence part, the neocortex, the buddhi part of the mind in control. And this is probably one of the greatest contributions of meditation in terms of creating inner awareness, which in turn, as I said earlier, creates a larger awareness of collective consciousness. When we are looking at meditation, there are three aspects that need to be kept in mind. The way that breath influences the way we meditate, how it influences the control of the mind, and how the mind, along with the brain and the body, is not merely matter, but it is really energy, as the scriptures have said in the Vedic system for thousands and thousands of years ago, much before Einstein and others, through the theory of relativity, etc., showed that energy is the same as matter. And we also know now that there are different types of brainwave patterns which shows the way that the neural network works. In a normal state of our activity, we operate in a system called the beta brainwave pattern, which is 12 to 20 hertz frequency. And when we relax, it is between 8 and 12. When we go deeper, it is at theta, which is between 4 and 8. And when we are in deeper sleep, we are at delta, which is 0 and 4. These were the four that were known even about 20 odd years ago. At which time Herbert Benson, through his work and others, discovered there is a fifth brainwave, which is called the gamma, which operates at levels of 30 hertz and above. When you are in deep meditation, earlier it was believed that we operate at levels of alpha and theta, below the 12, which is beta, lowest point, up to about 4. But today we know that in very many active meditations, they go into gamma, which is about 30 and above. I have a personal experience with this about 25, 30 years ago when I was first measured through a skull cap as to my brainwave, and I was asked to meditate. I questioned what will happen when I meditate, and they said it would relax into alpha or maybe theta. And also we are going to take some pictures, which were at that time very advanced and still are. There are not many people who do that, which could capture the auras in real time. And I asked them, how do I know it's not a fake? They said, if you're going to meditate, and I said I was going to meditate using healing meditation, your body will turn green. Believe you me, for 20 minutes when I did the meditation, they took every minute of picture. I still have them. I became, inside my body, I became an Irishman. I was completely green, except for small parts where I had some other problem. However, they told me, yeah, we believe that you are meditating because you turn green, but then your brain doesn't believe that because you are not in alpha. It is going beyond the measures of beta that we normally test. I didn't have enough knowledge to talk about it. They didn't have. And it was much later, about 10 years later, that the brainwave patterns of gamma were discovered, and I was retested. And it was found that when I went into deep meditation, at that time I was practicing Vipassana, Yoga Nidra, and stuff like that. And it was pretty much around 40 hertz at very, very high levels of the gamma. So the tremendous advances in these, and some of these we will go into detail in other sessions in terms of the 4 states of awareness as described in Vedic psychology and how it connects with the neurosciences. One of the key takeaways I would like to leave with you is that any meditation, when it is done with an intent, it has enormous power. What we intend is really the most important part of any meditation. Of course, you can do meditation without any intent. You can completely disengage, and you can be in a state where it doesn't matter, whatever happens, you accept and you surrender to whatever the universe intends. But most of us, I would say 90% of us, would have some desire, some intent that we want to fulfill. They say in today's situation, that intent can be extremely powerful in terms of the fact that we all would like to be safe. We all would like everybody around us to be safe. We would like the entire globe to be safe, well, safe, and happy. So that could be a very powerful intent with which we can meditate. So before we go into this meditation that I'm going to take you through now, let's all create that intent within our mind, that what we are looking for at the end of this meditation to happen by creating a deep inner awareness, and through this intense exercise of meditation, what we are planning to do, we are hoping to do, is to spread wellness from us to the community and to the much larger community of the globe. So I'll stop here at this point in time in terms of the introduction to what I wanted to say today. Probably in the next session that I would hold with you, we would talk about the chakras and other aspects of meditation-related themes that we will cover. Today, let's focus on this intent of wellness, of people being safe, people being happy. And let that be not just for ourselves, but in a larger ecocentric way to the entire world, to the entire universe, all the creatures, everybody, that we wish them well, we wish them to be happy and safe. Now we move into the meditation, probably will take about 20 minutes. So during this meditation, as we did before, I would like you to keep your feet firm on the floor, sit in a way that you are erect, your spine, your lower back, your neck, and your head are in one line, vertical line. So there's a free flow of energy through your spinal column. And you're holding your hands in this posture with the first 2 fingers, the thumb and the first finger coming together in a circle, and the other 3 erect. And you can rest it very lightly on your lap or on the armrest. And this is called the Chin Mudra or the Gyan Mudra. And now, in this posture, with your feet firmly on the floor, with your hands in this Chin Mudra, and then resting lightly, relax completely, your shoulders and the whole body relax. Please close your eyes. Please inhale deeply. Inhale as deep as you can from below the diaphragm, from below the navel. And fill up your stomach area so that It moves forward, it pops up, and you can feel it. If you wish, with your hand, you can lightly touch it to see that your stomach is coming out when you're inhaling deep. And hold the inhale breath for a brief period of time as long as you're comfortable. And exhale completely, slowly, silently, as long as you can possibly exhale for. And then hold the exhale breath. Just keep repeating this cycle. Inhale deeply. Hold as long as you are comfortable. Exhale completely. Hold as long as you are comfortable and repeat this cycle. Do this for a few cycles. As you continue to do this at your own rhythm and frequency, just listen to my words and try to fit them into the way that you're breathing without necessarily having to follow the words in terms of inhalation, exhalation. As you inhale deeply from below your navel, below your diaphragm, visualize that you are breathing in the energy of the universe inside you. Allow that to fill you. Feel refreshed, re-energized, recreated, rejuvenated. At the end of the inhalation, just hold your breath as long as you're comfortable. To allow this energy to fill every part of your body from the top of your head to the tip of your toes to the tips of your fingers. As you now exhale slowly, taking as long as you can, just allow the energy that you have inside to expand beyond your mind and body, the material boundaries of the mind and body, into the space outside you, which is part of the universal energy. Just allow it to expand. And as you hold your breath, feel one with the energy that's outside, the universal energy. So in your own rhythm, as you are inhaling, holding, exhaling, and holding. As you inhale, inhale the energy of the universe into you. Let it refresh you, rejuvenate you, recreate you. And as you hold the breath, let that happen to every part of your body, every cell of your body, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes and fingers. And as you exhale now, allow that energy to spread, expand outside the material boundaries of your mind and body into the energy space of the universe. And as you hold your breath at the end of exhalation, let it be one. That you are just energy. You are no longer mind and body matter. You are pure energy consciousness. Just continue with your cycles of energy. Breathing, deep inhalation, visualizing, filling yourself with the energy of the universe. Holding to allow it to spread to every part of your body. Exhale, moving out of your mind body, allowing that energy to merge into the energy of the universe outside. And finally, as you hold, become one with that energy. So just practice your breathing with this visualization. Inhaling deeply, holding, exhaling deeply, and holding till you become one with the energy of this universe. Please continue this breathing as you have done so far, and continue to do it the same way. Inhaling deeply, holding, exhaling completely, and holding. Shift your awareness while this is happening at the back. Move your awareness to the top of your head, the crown center on top of your head. And as your awareness rests at that point, see if you can sense any movement, any energy movement in that area. It could be a crawling, it could be the blood movement, it could be the skull, the skin tightening, it could be a tingling. Whatever that sensation is, just observe it dispassionately. Just witness it. If you do not notice anything, that's fine too. Just keep your awareness on the top of your head, the skull of your head, the crown center. Gently and slowly shift your awareness, the point between your eyes on the forehead, the third eye center. And once again, see if you can sense any energy movement. It could be a throbbing, it could be a tingling, it could be a scratching, it could be blood pounding. It could be any sensation. Whatever sensation you feel is fine. And even don't feel any sensation, that's fine too. Just stay there and see if you can experience any energy movement. Slowly, gently move your attention to the throat, to your Adam's apple. And once again in this space, see if you can experience any movement, any energy movement. A throbbing, a pounding, a crawling, anything at all that you can experience and sense. And even if you do not experience anything, that's fine too. Just be aware and focus on this area while your breathing of inhaling, holding, exhaling, and holding continues in the background. Slowly and gently shift your attention to the heart space. In this heart space again, see if you can sense any energy movement, experience any energy movement. Maybe the beat of the heart, maybe the pulsing, maybe the throbbing, maybe something else. Whatever it may be, just be aware of it. And if you don't feel anything, that's fine too. If you don't experience anything, it's okay. Just be aware and focus. And slowly and gently move your attention down to your navel area. And in this area, once again, try and experience and sense any energy movement. Maybe a throbbing, maybe a shifting, maybe a tingling. Or even if there's nothing, just be observant, sense what's going on. Move your attention down to your lower abdomen, the sacral region. And again, try and experience any sensation, any energy movement that you may have. And there's nothing evident, that's okay too. As you do this meditation on your own, if you spend more and more time in each of these points that I've taken you through, you will find eventually that there is an energy movement and you'll be able to identify with it. Slowly and gently move your attention down to the point where your trunk meets your thighs, the perineum point, the lowest point of the spine. And at this point, stay and experience whatever you can experience. Even if you do not experience anything, just stay there. And continue with your breathing. Deep inhalation, holding, complete exhalation. And do this for a few cycles, staying at this lowest point of the spine, the root chakra, the Muladhara chakra, which is the source of all your internal energy, which is a holographic version of the universal energy that is resident within you, which is your primal source of energy for your entire mind-body operating system. As you are at this point, the root chakra, the Muladhara chakra, visualize this energy that is resident here as a beautiful ball of energy. Let it be of any color that you choose. It's shining, it's spreading energy, it's spreading lightness, it's making you joyous. Allow that to be seen in your face, smiling. And allow it to expand. And as it expands, let it move and cover as it becomes bigger, the sacral center at the next level in the lower abdomen. And allow it to spread and radiate from this space, radiate joy, compassion, courage. And let it expand further, that it covers your navel region, providing you the energy and the power to do whatever you wish to do. And as it expands further, let it cover your heart region, allowing you to relate to people around you, beyond you, reaching out to this entire world as it were, expanding and expanding and expanding with love, compassion, kindness, gratitude. And let it expand further to cover your throat center. And you're radiating out in your own uniqueness now, realizing your strengths, all that you can achieve by yourself without ever having to compare yourself with anybody. And allow that to expand into your third eye center, where you know the powers that you have, what you can achieve, and yet you would like to use it for the purpose of helping yourself as well as others, and not controlling anybody, letting go, accepting, and finally expanding to cover the topmost point of your head, the Sahasrara, where you feel fulfilled and happy, expanding in joyous harmony with the rest of the universe, completely fulfilled, accepting, surrendering to the larger wisdom of the energy that created you and of which you are a part. Allow this energy to expand and expand and expand. Let it expand beyond your mind and body. Feel yourself expanding beyond the seat that you are in, beyond the room that you are in, beyond the house or apartment that you are in, the street you are in, the block you are in. Keep expanding, keep expanding. It's your energy that you're expanding. You are much beyond your mind and body matter now. The energy is flowing out of you. This beautiful ball of energy is expanding outside, flowing, covering your block, the neighborhood that you are in, the city you are in, the state you are in, the country you are in, and the continent you are in. Allow yourself to expand, expand, expand across the land and the oceans till you cover this entire earth. And now moving beyond, encompassing the other planets and the satellites and the solar system. And then beyond that into larger galaxies, and beyond that into other universes. Just expand. You are the universe, you are the expanding universe, you are the expanding multiverse. In this wonderful space of energy, all powerful, all joyous, compassionate, loving, nurturing, unconditionally spreading love and compassion. Reiterate the intent that you have and allow that to shower and flower and expand. That you wish, that you intend, that every creature within this expanded universe that you are in is well, will be well forever, happy, joyous, and benefit from the meditation that you are doing. Just stay here with your breathing in the background. Continue for as long as you like, as long as you are comfortable. And stay in this wonderful state of peace, fulfillment, and happiness. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.